Welcome to Seals on the Move. I'm Alex Seals.
And I'm Rosie Seals.
We traveled back to the Chuck E. Cheese that I used to visit 20 years ago to see how it's changed. And oh boy, is it different. In this video, we'll go over the history of Charles Entertainment Cheese's establishment, show the differences of this location between the early 2000s and today, and showcase some of the games, past and present. So let's get a move on with Seals on the Move. Chuck E. Cheese began in 1977 and was started by the man who founded Atari, Nolan Bushnell. This is not the only connection to a video game company, as we'll see later on. Chuck E. Cheese has had multiple names: Chuck E. Cheese's Pizza Time Theater, Chuck E. Cheese's Pizza, Chuck E. Cheese's, and finally, Chuck E. Cheese. Chuck E. Cheese's main competitor was Showbiz Pizza Place, which my mom always described as aimed a little bit more toward the older crowd. I always thought that Chuck E. Cheese bought out Showbiz, considering Showbiz disappeared from the world. In fact, it was the opposite. Showbiz bought out Chuck E. Cheese and ended up changing all of their restaurants to the Chuck E. Cheese name. Chuck E. himself has gone through some changes over the years. The original, what we'll dub bowler hat Chuck E., was originally supposed to be a coyote, but the costume that the founder bought was a rat, so Chuck E. became a rat. Remy wasn't the first rat in the kitchen. Bowler hat Chuck E. would never fly today, as he would smoke cigars. Bowler hat Chuck E. is a bit creepy to me, but that was resolved with Chuck E.'s next iteration, which we'll call Skater Chuck E. Skater Chuck E. is the one I remember the best and have the most footage of. He's a lot more kid-friendly as well. The latest iteration is Miniature Chuck E., and he has the most drastic change. In commercials, he is actually the size of a rodent. He's got a much more streamlined face, and in my opinion is a worse design than Skater Chuck E. He's actually voiced by Jarrett Reddick of Bowling for Soup, the band who performed the Phineas and Ferb theme song. Chuck E. Cheese had a species change from rat to mouse in 1993. Similar to Disney, both Chuck E. Cheese and Showbiz used animatronics in the restaurants. Chuck E. Cheese originally had animatronic busts of characters, including one called Krusty the Cat. The old days of Chuck E. Cheese seem horrifying. Other characters which are still around were Pasquale the Chef and Jasper T. Jowls. Showbiz had an animatronic band called the Rockafire Explosion. Once Showbiz bought out Chuck E. Cheese, the animatronic band featured Chuck E. Cheese and his group of characters. The band name was changed to Munch's Make-Believe Band. This was eventually whittled down to just being an animatronic of Chuck E. He would perform alongside televisions with videos playing on them. The animatronics are now being phased out. At this location in Cool Springs, Tennessee, there are no animatronics. Some are still clinging on though. As of early 2021, there was still a Chuck E. animatronic at Stones River Mall in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Chuck E. Cheese serves pizza, but people may not know that they sell beer and wine. Imagine sipping wine while kids play skee-ball and Chuck E. Cheese dances in the background. So it's been about a decade since I've had Chuck E. Cheese pizza. It does look different, so we'll see if it actually tastes the same. It still tastes the same, and Chuck E. Cheese pizza gets a lot of flack, but I've always liked it. I think it's really good. Yeah, it's not the highest quality pizza, but it's really good. So I give Chuck E. Cheese pizza the seals of approval, even though a lot of people give me flack for that. Chuck E. Cheese seems to have adopted the Dave & Buster's method of pay and rewards. Formerly, you would buy a bunch of tokens and use those on the games. In turn, you would get tickets which you could redeem for prizes. Now, pay cards are available and your winnings are loaded onto the card without any physical tickets distributed. Also, instead of buying a set amount of gameplay credit, you purchase a time period. All the games are all you can play within that time period. You can pause the timer by using a machine located in the restaurant. That's unique from Dave & Buster's, in which you purchase a set amount of credit. Like McDonald's and Chick-fil-A, Chuck E. Cheese once had play places with the tubes to climb in, slides, and ball pits. Those are also being phased out and may be completely gone at all locations. It is definitely gone from the Cool Springs location. Nintendo of America owned a Chuck E. Cheese in Canada. Fun fact of the day. I have to mention the hilarious Weird Al Yankovic-like songs that Chuck E. Cheese created. They basically took popular songs and Chuck-ified them. Here's an example. Yes, that is Ricky Martin's Livin' La Vida Loca, but turned into an ad for Coke, Livin' the Coca-Cola. I once heard another one that took the 80s song, Turning Japanese by the Vapors, and changed the iconic line, I think I'm turning Japanese, to I think I'm going to Chuck E. Cheese. Here is how the Cool Springs location has changed. Skater Chucky is no longer on the outside of the building. That honor now belongs to Miniature Chucky. This is not a universal change, as Skater Chucky still adorns the Stones River Mall location. These Archie pictures of Chucky have been replaced by a history of the restaurant that sadly doesn't really give any details. The ticket munchers are gone that would eat your tickets and print out on a receipt the entire amount of tickets that you received. They are unnecessary now with the play cards. You can scan the play cards on a device located where the ticket munchers used to be, and it will tell you your ticket information. The play area is no longer with us. So is the wall separating the party area from the rest of the restaurant. Of course, the animatronic Chucky, an area where kids could control security cameras, are gone, replaced by character bios. Even the signs for the prize area, salad area, etc. are different. The booths are a bit more muted in color. This Chuck E. Cheese location even had vanilla Coke in the early 2000s. You can still find remnants of Skater Chucky. Bowler Hat Chucky is nowhere to be seen, but that's probably for the best. Now for the games. None of the games that are from the time period that we have footage of are still around, except for this device that takes a picture of you and prints it out in black and white. The basketball games may be the same, I'm not quite sure. Starting with the early 2000s, we have Wave Racer. There was a Whack-A-Mole that featured the Chuck E. Cheese character Munch as the mole. In 2021, there is something similar to this, but it is all on a screen. It's called Hammer 2. This shoe was a basketball game for little kids. Dino Dash was a simple game. All you do is run and jump in order to beat the dinosaur that is in the background to the finish line. The secret was to rapidly hit the run button. Smokin' Token was a ski-themed redemption game that would not work today. Why? Because your token you inserted would roll down the slope into a slot that would determine the amount of tickets you would win. Fishin' Fun is another ticket redemption game where you have to time the magnetized fishing pole just right to catch fish that are labeled with the amount of tickets you will win. Caveman Clobber is a Plinko-inspired game with a dinosaur theme. Every time you made the pterodactyl lay an egg, it made this noise. If your egg lands on top of another egg, you lose. River Ribbit is more of a kiddie game where the tongue moves on its own and you control when it shoots down. Eating bugs gives you points, eating the spider hurts you. It's similar to this game at Dave & Buster's. The frog kind of creeps me out. This was back in Bob the Builder's heyday. It was a Nick Jr. show that had talking construction equipment. There was a digital coloring book, Chuck E. Cheese's coloring book. Back then, touchscreens were a whole lot more novel than they are now. You can get coloring books right on your phone nowadays. This game is another Plinko game. It reminds me of a handheld one that I own. Dino Spin is another ticket redemption game with a simple premise. The number it lands on is the amount of tickets you get. Chuck E. Cheese seemed to invest heavily in dino games in the early 2000s. Fire Rescue was really cool. You operated a simulated fire hose and put out fires on the screen. This was really hot stuff in the early 2000s. Everybody's seen these cyclone machines. They are still around, like at this arcade at Stones River Mall, but this one is gone from the Chuck E. Cheese in Cool Springs. A light goes around in a circle, you hit a button to stop the light, and that determines your ticket amount. You could even play with trains back in the day. This wasn't a game, just an opportunity to play with a train set. Buzzy Buzzy Bee was a unique concept. These bee-patterned orbs would blow around and you had to catch them with the net and deposit them in the honey pot. Sneaky Snake was the junior version of Sidewinder, which was also at this Chuck E. location. In Sidewinder, you had to guide what was essentially one of the ski balls down a path. You controlled the path with a steering wheel. You can listen to Chuck E. Cheese characters on this device. There used to be a Star Wars Trilogy arcade. Sadly, it's no longer there. It was a 3D rail shooter based on the original Star Wars trilogy. This was a motion game and also a motion ride. You would choose what you wanted to do at the beginning. The soccer game was an interesting concept. It was sometimes hard to kick the ball well with the cage in the way. The goalie was featured in a Chuck E. Cheese commercial. He was sad about something and I think Chucky cheered him up. In 2021, it's been replaced with a similar soccer game featuring Homer Simpson. This was tic-tac-toe with basketballs. Skee-ball is different in 2021. Gone are the brown wooden balls and are plastic balls colored blue. In this frog game, you have to hit the ball into his mouth while the mouth opens and closes. It's similar to this game, Pig Out, that is at Chuck E. Cheese in 2021. Cell phone games are something that arcades seem to feature quite a bit in 2021, and Chuck E. Cheese is no exception with Doodle Jump. The goal is to keep bouncing up. An arcade wouldn't be complete without basketball. It's nice to see that Chuck E. Cheese still has some of these gimmicky games. I enjoyed this Robin Hood game where you have to shoot the targets. Sonic Spinner, a ticket redemption game which is very Sonic Adventure inspired, was around at this Chuck E. Cheese in 2006 when I took my brothers when I was home from college. Whatever you land on tells you the tickets you will receive, like the Dino Spinner game. Operation is now an arcade game. You only get one chance, whether you succeed or not. I guess that's not a big deal when the games are all you can play. The goal is similar to the board game. Insert the metal rod into a hole without touching the sides of the hole. In Pink Panther Jewel Heist, you have to outrun a laser beam by heading down and trying not to get caught by the bad guys.
The Pink Panther! Run to the bottom to win the bonus! Ready? Go!
Jurassic Park Arcade seems pretty retro. It's an on-rails shooter. Pretty fun, but also pretty hard. This Batman arcade game is centered around driving the Batmobile, of which there are 10 different ones featured in the game. It came out in 2013.
You also have a phone pad for some reason.
This Pig Out game is fun. I like the type of games where there is actual physical stuff to interact with and it is not all on a screen. Hammer 2, as mentioned earlier, is kind of a screen-based whack-a-mole.
Jesus Star Spectacular.
Oh, it's old school, Chuck.
The Cars arcade game did not control very well. I was not too impressed.
Oh, you can feel it. This is not an easy game to control.
This Iceman game seems to be a clone of the Plants vs. Zombies arcade game. You have to zap zombies with water, and the water guns look a lot like the pea shooters used in the Plants vs. Zombies arcade game. This is a cool concept, shooting water at a screen to take down enemies.
Oh, wow! You did on your first throw. Good job. Look at that.
Oh. Oh, man. It rolled around, that's all you get. We can keep playing.
Let's go 500.
Huh? You got 50.
We ran out of time on our card before we could play H2 Overdrive, but it reminds me of the old Hydro Thunder games.
All the little prizes. Those are still kind of the same. Oh, I used to love those snakes. Rosie's the iron kid, but she's such a tall kid, she covers up some of the other letters. Poor little Rosie. That is creepy. So creepy. He's got such dead eyes. Oh, wow.
My final verdict on Chuck E. Cheese? Dave & Buster's is the better option if you are older. I have a lot of fond memories of Chuck E. Cheese, and I think it's nostalgia that makes it seem so great in my memories. I always played to get tickets so that I could acquire better prizes. When we went to Dave & Buster's a few months ago, I genuinely enjoyed playing around there. Chuck E. Cheese does not have that same sense of fun. Granted, at the time we went, I was tired from a full day, and that may have contributed to me not enjoying Chuck E. Cheese as much. The time-based play seems better in theory than each game costing a certain amount of credits, but it adds a level of stress you might not expect. In addition, the food at Dave & Buster's is out of this world. While the pepperoni pizza at Chuck E. Cheese is just good, and the plain cheese was frankly blah. I have a feeling that Chuck E. Cheese may not last much longer, and if so, at least we know that Dave & Buster's is still around. It would be sad to see it join the ranks of Toys R Us, Discovery Zone, and KB Toys because of how much it meant to me in my childhood, but maybe it's time for the rat or mouse or whatever he may be today to go into the sunset. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Speaking of beloved childhood places that have disappeared, Toys R Us is making a comeback with one recently opening at American Dream Mall, and Discovery Zone has 2 locations now, one in Ohio and one in Kentucky. So even if Chuck E. Cheese goes by the wayside, it could always come back. If you like this episode, give us a thumbs up. Share this with your friends who need a touch of nostalgia, subscribe so that you don't miss any future adventures, and strike the bell to be notified when we upload videos. If you would like to support us, our Patreon link is down below. As always, thanks for watching and supporting.